All right, let's talk about rotations. Rotations can be kind of funky. What I would like to do is kind of talk about the coordinate plane first, our coordinates and quadrants. How many degrees is in a circle or in a coordinate plane? How many degrees we can rotate things, or we will be rotating things? Then we're gonna go into rotating actual image. I will try to make it as easier as possible. So please pay really, really close attention, okay? Coordinate plane has 4 quadrants. They're named quadrant number 1, and they're named accordingly. 1, then here is 2, then we have quadrant number 3, and finally we have a quadrant 4. The way I remember it is when I speak of coordinate plane, coordinate starts with the letter C. So if I was to draw a letter C, I will start in here. So that's my starting point, that's my first quadrant. Then I go over here, that's my second quadrant, right? Then I go over there, that's just the third. And I'll end up over here, which is the quadrant number 4. 4 quadrants. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I was to draw a circle on top of my coordinate plane, let me try to see if I can do that. There you go. Maybe I'll do it a little bit wider. Let's see. There you go. So if I was to have a circle on my coordinate plane, we're going to talk about degrees. And here, this is my 0 degrees. That's going to be my starting point. If I go from 0 up to here, over here, I went officially 90 degrees. That's 90 degrees. Then if I keep on going over here, that is my 180 degrees. Then if I keep going, and here will be 270. And if I keep on going, I'll end up on 360 degrees. So there's 360 degrees in a circle. Every right angle is a 90-degree angle, right? So from here to there is 90. Then I add another 90, which will give me to 180. Then I add another 90, that will get me to 270, and then finally to 360 degrees. We will be rotating our images 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270, and if I say 360, obviously I'm where I started, right? So because that's 0 or 360. Rotation. Rotation is my turn. Rotation always has a center of rotation. So if I was to grab an image, imagine this is my center of rotation, and I went 90 degrees clockwise. If you think about a clock hand, the red hand, right, the second hand, it moves to the right. So if I went 90 degrees clockwise, it will look like this. If I had an image that looked like my hand, I would grab it and move it 90 degrees. Sounds good? So now let's see. We're going to be rotating on a coordinate plane. I really want you to pay close attention, all right? So this is what you're going to do. Step 1 is plot the image on a coordinate plane. So I have a trapezoid, and I have points W, X, Y, and Z. Let's plot it. Point W is -4 on X and 2 on Y. So from the origin, go 4 units left. And when you, guys, one more thing before we go any further. When you rotate, do not label your X and Y axis, because what's gonna happen if you label them, Imagine this. If I was to label my X and Y axis, and then I said, all right, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees, right? And I'll say 90 degrees clockwise, that means to the right. And I grab it, and I go 90, guess what's gonna happen? My x-axis is the horizontal one, correct? Well, let's see. And then I look at it, and this is y. Uh-oh, I can confuse myself. The same way is the points will start rotating, and if you do actually put X and Y axis in here, and you put +1, +2, so on and so forth, if you move it, let's say counterclockwise, well, these are negative numbers, and if you have positive and then you given me the new coordinates, it's easy to read them incorrect. So when you rotate, do not name your X and Y axis, because it will only mess you up. So now let's start with plotting my image. So -4 units to the left, and then 2 units up. So from the origin I go 1, 2, 3, 4 units left, and 2 up. Point W. Point X, -3 on the x-axis and up 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. -1 and +4. X-axis is 1 left, and 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my point Y. And point Z is -1 and 2. So here is my trapezoid. I'm going to connect my points, and there it is. What I would like for you to do, if you have a test and you have to rotate an image, always plot it. After you plot your image, let's look what you're supposed to do. It says rotate the image 180 degrees about the origin. Well, origin is right in the center, right? That is the origin. So I like to poke a hole in the origin, and then I go 180 degrees. 180 degrees, I know it's 2 turns, right? Because, you remember? 1 turn is, let's say we'll go counterclockwise. 1 turn is 90, 2 turns is 180. Now what's gonna happen if I go 180 degrees clockwise? So I start on 0, and I go 90 clockwise to the right, and then I go another 90, that will give me to 180, and I will end up at the same spot. 180 degrees, it doesn't matter if you go left or if you go right. So let's say we're gonna go clockwise to the right. So here's my image, and I say 90 degrees, 180 degrees. I know my new rotated image is right in here. I don't care that my letters are upside down. However, I know where my image is, where the new points lay. And that's gonna be my new coordinates that you will have to give to your teacher. In this case, my students to me. So let's look at this. Let me erase that. And let's rotate. I'm going to grab this image, and I'm gonna do 2 turns, right? 2 90 degrees turns. So let me select this whole thing, and let's go. 90 degrees, 180 degrees. This is where the new image lays. Now let's give me the new coordinates. That was my point W, right? So now W prime is over here and there. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 units on the x-axis, and I'm going to the right, so it's +4, and 1, 2 units down on y, so it's -2. Let's look at point X. 1, 2, and 3 on x-axis. So X prime is 3 units on X and 1 to the right, so it's positive, and 1, 2, 3, 4 units down, so that's negative on a y-axis, negative 4. Point Z, 1 and negative 2. So Z prime is positive 1 on X and down units 2 units down, I'm sorry, so negative 2. And point Y, Y prime is negative 1 on X, I'm sorry, positive 1 on X, I'm looking down and I'm getting too ahead of myself. So 1 unit to the right on X and 1, 2, 3, 4 down on Y, so it's negative 4. Here is my rotated image. Please make sure you do not label your axes and do not put the numbers. You all can count, you all can figure out 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, that's my negative 4, correct? And then 2 up, so on and so forth, and then you rotate how many units, how many degrees you need to go, how many turns. Keep in mind that we have 90-degree rotation, 180-degree, 270, and then 360, which will get me back to the beginning where I started. So this was 1 rotation, 2 and 3 rotations, and this is a 4th one. You're gonna begin where you're gonna end where you began. All right.